So today's session will be on objects, that is how to work on objects using VBA macros. When I say objects, what all things we have? We have application, we have workbook, we have worksheet, we have a range, then we have pivot tables, charts. There are so many things like this. Suppose if you want to work on all these things, so we should understand what are these objects, what are the data types I'll be using for these objects. It's very simple actually. Okay, people think that working on objects is very complex. So for that, what I've done is we have prepared a very nice files here wherein you can go through this, say about application, about workbook, worksheet, range or chart or pivot table. You can go through this in a very simple way. Right, now let me go to this object. I'll open this object. I'll show you guys what all things you can do in objects. Let's say it's an application. So for this, you don't have to think too much. So I think we had already covered a few things in our workbook modules. So I'll again not type these things. This we have covered in our workbook module, that is how to display full screen, how to disable this display alerts. This we discussed in our what is that, sheet delete options. When we delete a sheet, I don't want to get the alerts, so that we have discussed. This is to say I have a status bar here. I have the status bar. So to disable that, I can use this display status bar, whether it is true or false. Then I have the scroll bars. If you want to remove the scroll bars, I can use this application dot display scroll bars equals true or false. And the events, what we discussed in the previous session, that is we discussed about selection change or say activate or something. So if you want to enable or disable, you can use this. So in the previous session we also saw about the user forms, where we have a lot of events which we discussed. So if you want to disable that or say enable that, I can use this enable events. Okay, this for application. So since we have covered most of them, so I'll not again go through all this. You can just work on this. This is a very simple code. This is to work on the objects, that is application. But we'll work on worksheet and say workbook. So what all things you can do in worksheet and workbook? Let me just go here. See, I have this workbook object. So what all things you can work on a workbook? Let me open one new workbook. Let me just name this WKS objects, Alt F11. I'll rename this sheet. Done. Now say right click, try to insert a module here. Say F4 mod underscore, I'll say workbook. So workbook one is I can save this file. Let me just save this file as well. I just go to my folder, that is online morning batch. Yes, we are here. And then say macro enabled file, say class 9, and say save. Fine. Say Alt F11. We'll see what all things we can do in my workbook. One thing is, say I can get the path of this particular workbook. How? Let's say sub get path. Let's say dim str path as string. Say str path equals. Now what you do is, I want this workbook, the active workbook path. I'll say this workbook dot path. Now let me run this. This will get me the path. Now we'll use message box to get the path. Say str path. So what this will do, it will give me the path. Run this. See, it is saying the path. So whenever I'm actually trying to pull the path of this particular say file where it is saved, then I can use this workbook dot path. See, like this. Fine. This is just to get the path. Now I want to create one workbook, a new workbook. Now what we're actually doing, we are trying to understand the objects. Now here what I did, I'm trying to get the path of the workbook which I'm already working. Now what if I want to create a new workbook? Let's say sub and say um, create workbook. Now we'll try to add a workbook. Say here application dot workbooks dot add. You can ignore this application also, that is not a problem, or if you want you can keep it, or you can say just workbooks dot add also. This is something like we discussed about the sheets dot add. Here I'll say workbooks dot add. Let me execute this. See, one new workbook got added. See, a new workbook got added here. Let's go back. Now I created this workbook. I want to save this somewhere. Say sub save work. First we'll create this workbook and we'll save this workbook. What we'll do is we'll try to take this workbook into one variable. Like what we do, say dim inti as integer. I'll say inti equals 100. That means that 100 will be assigned to inti. Similarly, for these workbooks or say objects, we can take variable and data type, and then we can assign the value to the variable what we have declared. So how to do that? Say dim. We'll say wb file as workbook. Now if you see this, workbook itself is a data type, like what we have this integer, long, string. Workbook is also a data type. Here what I'm doing, I'm trying to declare one variable wb file and the data type is workbook. Now what we'll do, we'll say wb fil equals. Now whenever it's a workbook, you cannot directly say like what we do inti equals 100. For a object data type, what we should do is, I'll go here, I'll say set. Set is a keyword which will help me in assigning an object data type, that is object value, to the variable what I have created here. Now I'll say workbook dot add. So what will happen in this case, I'm just adding, but in this case I'm trying to create a workbook or say add a workbook and assign that to my variable here. Now let's say I will save this workbook. I have to get a path. So what I'll do, I'll say dim str path as string. If you see here, see, this is what we have taken for path. Then I'll say str path equals this workbook dot path. Now I have the path, I have this file which I've created. Now let me save this. The wb file dot save as. It will ask for the file name. When I say file name, it should be along with the path. Otherwise, it will not know where I have to save the file. So for this, what I'll do, I'll say str path, and I'll say ampersand will give a slash. That is, you have to create the directory path, and we'll say new workbook dot xlsx. Give the file name extension. See, wb file, that is nothing but this variable dot save as. I'll say str path, and I'm giving this file. Now let me go here. We'll close this file which we have created. Now we'll create a new file. See, F8. If you see here, a new file has been added, and now I'll say save as. Now let's go to that path. That is this workbook.path means if I go here, the workbook what I have created is saved here, where in VBA online morning April batch. This is the path where I'm saving my file. Open this. See, a new workbook has been created in this path. Fine. Let's go back. I have this workbook. Now let me type something here. I have some data here. Let me save this and I will close this. It is closed. Now if you go to this VBA code, we learned about how to create a workbook, how to assign the object to a variable, then we saw how to save the file. Now we'll see how to close the file. That is, if it is opened, how to close it. Or before that, what we'll see how to open the file. Say sub open workbook. So how to open this workbook? Let's go here. I'll say same thing. Name WB file as workbook. And we'll take this path, str path as string. We can take the same path here. I have the path, but now I'm trying to open the file. I'm not adding the file. I'll take this variable again. I'll say set WB file equals workbooks.open. See, here I'm saying add to add a workbook. Here I'm saying open to open a workbook. When I say open, I need to give the path. Let's say I'll open this new workbook. I'll take the same thing and just copy it, put it inside bracket. Done. Now I'm trying to open the workbook. Let me run this. Let's go and check. Can I see this? The file new workbook is opened. Fine. So what I did, I tried to open the file. Now let's say I want to close the file. Let me copy the same thing. Right? Now what we'll do, we'll say the file which is opened. Now I'll go here. Let me close this. I'll try to open, and now let's try to close this. Say WP file dot close. That means I'm trying to close this file which is open, but it asks for save changes. So what I'll do is I'll go here. I'll say true. This we would have seen in our workbook module, wherein we mentioned in before close, say file dot this workbook dot close, and we are mentioning the say save changes. If I say true, what will happen? It will save the changes. Otherwise, it will close without saving. Let's go and say F8. Oops, it's the same name. So here we'll change this to close. See, the file got opened and the file got closed. Let's go here and understand. See, first we saw how to get the path of the workbook which I'm working. Then we tried to add a workbook. Then we saw how to save the workbook which is already created. Then we saw how to open a workbook, and we saw how to close a workbook. So this is for workbooks. The next one what we have is, let's go there, we have sheets. Sheets we've already discussed. Worksheet. So if you remember in our sheet module or in our previous sessions, I mentioned about how to add, delete. I'll just open this and I'll show you. This is already covered in our previous sessions. If you want, you can go and check our previous videos. I'll show you what all things are there. See, hiding, unhiding. Here I have this add sheets. So sheets.add. If you remember this, we have covered these sessions, these things. So you can go back and you can check this, or otherwise I'll be sending you this file. You can work on these codes as well. So I'll not cover again because it's already covered. So you can go through our previous videos and you can check that in simple program topic. Let me close this. Let me save this one. Next one is the range. What is range? First, let's understand what is the range. Range means, say for example, see, this is the range. See, this is called as range. On this range, what all things I can do? If you see, when I'm writing a formula, I'll be using this range for VLOOKUP formula or index or many other options. In code, I'll be using this for, say, the complete range. I'll copy and paste it somewhere. Let me copy this entire thing. I'll go to my object sheet here. I'll just paste this. The same data I just copied and pasted to show you guys how I can work on range. Let me close this file. Now in this file, what we'll do is we'll try to work on this range. So what all options we have in excuse me, range object. Let me go here. Say insert a module F4 mod underscore range. First, we'll see how we can use range object and how I can declare the variable range object. Say sub, say range object, just to understand. Here I'll say dim rng data. This is the variable name as range. See, I given range as a data type. Now range itself is a data type. What all things we can do in this? Let's go here. Let's say I want to select the complete range. So one way is I'll say set rng data. I told you for any object data type we have to use set. Rng data is nothing but it's a variable. See how to select. I want to select the entire table here. One way I'll go here. I'll say wks object dot range of, let me take say d5 to h53, d5 to h53 dot select. This for selection. Let me run this. What does it says? Don't have objects here. Let's check again. Okay, we'll say copy, or we'll just assign this, and here we'll say rng data dot select. Here we are trying to assign this range, and then we're trying to select this here. We'll do like this. See, the entire range got selected. Now if you see here, I mentioned it as d5 to h53, but this h53 can change. Let me copy this and I'll paste it here. See, now it has become till 101. If you want to select this, I have to go here and I have to change this address. Instead, how to make it dynamic? Let me copy this, paste it here. I'll say dynamic. Instead of giving this d5 to h53, so what I'll do is I'll say d5 and I'll say dot current region. Mention it as current region. Now let's go here and say F8. See, now the entire table has been selected. If I do the same thing in this code, see, if I run this, it will select till 53 only, because we have mentioned it as h53, but here we have mentioned d5 dot current region. So what current region will do, it will go here, select this cell, that is d5, and whatever selection I have done here, the complete table whatever is there, so that will be selected. I guess this also we have discussed in our previous sessions, right? Now let's say this range, let's take one example. I want to filter the data. Let's say I want to filter this data. Let's go here, sub filter range. So what you're trying to do here is we'll take that range and we'll try to filter the data and then copy and paste it in some other sheet. Same thing, I'll go here, I'll take this. Now here I'll not say select, I'll try to filter. So how to filter? Say rng data dot auto filter is the code. Just say dot auto filter space. It lasts for the field. Field is nothing but which field. Say let me filter region. It is in first field. it asks for the criteria. So what is that I need to filter? Let me copy this central, and here I'll give the criteria as central. Let's run this. See, only central got filtered. Now let me create one more shape here. Say WKS temp. Here, let me copy this and I'll paste it here. Say enter. Run this. It is getting filtered. Now how to copy this range? The range what I have created. Let me go here and I'll say filter range, copy, and we'll try to paste it somewhere else. How to copy this and paste? So what I'll do the extension of this. I'll take this RNG data dot, I can say directly dot copy. When I say dot copy, if I run this, see the entire range is copied. But always have the habit, whenever I'm filtering the data, only the special cells has to be copied. Special cells means the visible cells. This way also I can do, but what will happen is when there is a huge data, even the hidden cells also will be copied. So for that, what I'll do is I'll go here, I'll say RNG data dot special cells. So what the special cells will do, it is something like copy paste special. Okay, suppose if you want to select, I'll go to special, say control G, and here I'll say special, and here I have this visible cells only. So to select only the visible cells, so I'll be using this special cells, open bracket, and here I'll have cell type visible and say dot copy. Let's go back and I'll run this. See, let's assume that I want to paste it in WKS temp D5. Just mention WKS temp dot range of D5 dot paste special. Now I have filtered the data. Let me run this. See, it will filter, copy, and it will paste it here. Let's change this central to east. Now let me run this. See, only east will be copied and pasted. So this is how you can use range as well. So range object will help me in taking this range into one variable, and the data type is range. Here, save this. The next one what we have is a pivot table. If you go and check this pivot table.
Sir, if you don't mind, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah,
When you say that we can copy the data and paste it in a different worksheet, is it possible to copy this data and paste it in an Outlook email?
yes, this is actually possible, and these things are actually covered in our dashboard sessions. So in dashboard we have something called as automation. Okay, that automation section, what it will do is it will help me in automating the process, say from one application to another application, how we can connect. So here, when I want to connect from Excel to another application, it can be Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, or MS Access. We cannot directly connect it like this. So there is some different process for that. So what we have done is there is a different module, that is different course, where we have something called as dashboard designing, automation, and reporting. In that, automation is a part where we'll be telling how to connect from one application to another application, that is from Excel to various other application, and then you can do the process like this. So that is there, but that is there in a different course, that is in dashboard designing course. But yes, you can mail the complete content whatever is there here. Either it can be as a sheet, workbook, or a content. You can send it through Outlook, right?
Yeah.
Answered? Okay, fine. Let's go back. See this pivot table. Pivot table.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, just excuse me, sir. Just one small principal doubt.
Mhm.
When we were studying the workbook thing, no, sir, we were saying that anything to do with workbook, we were doing in the workbook directly.
Yes.
That workbook tab is there, no? There we were creating all the codes.
Here.
Yeah, in the workbook.
Yes.
At the top, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
This one.
Not at the module level, sir, at the workbook level directly.
No, that is different. That is with the events. That is, if you go here, so what we are trying to do here is we are trying to open, when you open a workbook, what should happen? When I close the workbook, what should happen?
Okay.
So what we are doing here is we are
Okay.
trying to create a workbook. This is something different. This is to create a workbook or save the
Okay.
workbook. Okay, that is within the workbook, what should happen? Say when I open the workbook, what should happen? When I close the workbook, what should happen? Like that.
Okay. Got it. Good.
Yeah, okay, that is different. That is events. What we are doing here is we are trying to work on an object itself. That is to create, close, save, things like that. Right? Okay.
Okay.
Let's come back to the topic. If you go here, I have this pivot table. Say I have taken the same data. So just now what we saw, the same data is here. Now this table, we'll try to create a pivot table. People actually think that pivot table is very complex, but I'll tell you this is very, very simple. I'll tell you in a very simple way how to work on pivot tables, how to create a pivot table and how to handle the pivot table objects, right? Let me close this. Anyways, I already have the data here. Let me clear this or let it be here. Here I have this WCase object. Here I have the data. Fine. Okay. Now what we'll do, we'll keep this as my object sheet and we'll create one more sheet, that is we'll say pivot. Let's say F11, we'll rename this sheet as well. Let's say WCase pivot. Right. We'll create one more module. So it's a good practice to create different module so that it will become easy for me to understand and work on the program. Now I created one pivot table sheet and here I have the data here which is in WCase object and we're trying to create a pivot table in my WCase pivot table sheet. Say sub, I'll say create pivot table. When I'm creating a pivot table, people, I've seen many people, messaging me or say calling me or coming to me saying that the pivot table is very difficult to write through code. So please explain me how to do it in a very simple way. I'll tell you in a very simple way how to create pivot table or to add a pivot table in a very simple way. That is, first thing what you should do is you have to keep two things in mind, two objects, that is pivot cache and pivot table. Pivot cache is nothing but it's a memory where my pivot data is kept. Say dim, I'll say pivot cache as pivot cache, then dim pivot table as pivot table. These two things what you have to first declare. I told you pivot cache is nothing but it's a memory and this is the table. Now first we'll assign the value or say the object to my pivot cache. As I told you, we'll use this set pivot cache equals this workbook dot pivot caches dot say create open bracket. It lasts for the database. So I can choose any of this. If I'm creating a database from consolidation, I can use this from database or say external data or from a pivot table itself or from a scenario. Now what we'll do, we'll take it from an Excel database, select this, comma, it lasts for the source data. Source data is what? This one. So what we'll do, we'll take this, like in the previous session we saw this range. So I can take a range or directly I can specify the range itself here. So for good practice what we'll do, we'll go here, I'll say dim rng data as a range and here set rng data equals wks objects dot range of, we'll take this d5 dot current region. So I can take this directly here or I can use like this. Anything is fine, whichever you feel comfortable, but this will be more appropriate so that I can know that what is the range I have selected here. Or you can put this itself here like this, see, like this. Anything is fine, but what I prefer is go to this declaring a variable and then taking this. Now I've taken the range here. Next is to create a pivot table. What I've created here, what I've done here is I've created one pivot cache where I've created a memory space for copying, or say for putting the data for which I'm trying to create a pivot table. Say pivot table, what is that we have given, pivot table equals, within this pivot cache what you have created, I'll say create pivot table, open bracket, it lasts for table destination. So what is the destination? The destination is here, WKS pivot. Let's say I'll create in D5. Say my table dot range of D5, comma, it lasts for a table name, that is a name for the pivot table what I'm creating. I'll say AVT new table. It's just a name what I've given. Let me run this. If I just execute this, see a pivot table got created. Can you see that pivot new table? Fine. Now again, if I create this, it'll throw error. The reason is already there is a pivot table with PVT new table. So what to do? What I'll do is here I'll give one code before creating, say WKS pivot dot cells dot clear. So this clear, again we have discussed in our previous sessions. Now what this will do, it will clear everything in this sheet and then it will create a new pivot table. See, and I run this, keep running this. See, this is to create a pivot table, but I need to add the fields there. So what I'll do, let me copy this and I'll paste it, and we'll go for second step. Say add fields. Here I'll say first let me study the fields here. See, I have this region, category, ship mode, and I have this sales. Let me make it as sales instead of sum of sales. Just say profit. Now I want to add this region. So what I'll do, I'll say pivot table dot pivot fields and mention that field name, this region. The hierarchy is like this: the pivot table dot pivot fields dot orientation, like what we have here. Say sheet dot range dot copy paste or something. Similarly for pivot table, I have the object name dot the column name, or say field name dot orientation equals. We have 4 fields here. That is, if you go here, see, I have page filter, I have column filter, then values, and then rows. Similarly here I'll have 4 options, that is data field, a row field, column field, and page field. Say Excel, I want this to be in row field. I'll say Excel row field. Let's run this and see. See, pivot table, this region will go to this row field. Now I want this sales to be here. So what I'll do, I'll go here, I'll say sales dot orientation. Here I'll mention it as data field, and I say data field, and if I run this, say it'll come to data field. Fine. I want to add, say, this category to my column field. So what I'll do, let's copy this and I'll paste it here. I'll say category, and here I'll say column field. So whatever you want, you can keep adding here, and that will frame your pivot table. I want even the profit. So what I'll do, let's take this, and here I'll say profit, and here let it be data field. Let's say FI. See, I have the sales and profit. Let's say I want this ship mode to be in row field along with this region. Then copy this and I'll paste it here. I'll say ship mode. So you should give the same spelling here. One mistake, it'll throw error. See, let me run this. See, like this. So you can keep on adding the fields so that the pivot table is getting updated. Now suppose if you go and see this, just to brief, I took one pivot cache, then pivot table, then we created that by using this workbook.pivotcaches.create, and then we're trying to create this pivot table by using this variable that is pivot cache. Then we started adding all the fields, that is 4 different fields: row field, column field, page field, and data field. So whatever I need here, see, depending on the orientation is that what we drag here. Say I want to drag this here to row field, then I'll say row field. If you want to add for column field, then I'm adding this column field like this. Okay, so this is for pivot table. So don't think that pivot table is very difficult. You just have to understand these two variables, that is data types, pivot cache and pivot table. Then create one cache, and then the pivot table within that cache, and then keep adding the fields by using this orientation. That's it, right? Okay, this is for the pivot table. Next we have chart object. Let me just show you. See, I have a data here. I want to create say one chart, something like this. See, this is for changing the data. Say I have the sales, quantity, and market share. Now suppose if I go here, say I have this column, let me click on this pie chart, it will get changed to pie chart, cell line chart, like this. So how to do these things? Let me just copy this data and I will put it in one of the sheets here. Let me just paste it, column width, okay. And then let me copy this chart as well, or we'll create a new chart itself. I'll close this file. Let's take this table. See, I have 3 different tables. One is for sales, quantity, and market share. My requirement is I'll have a drop down. When I select sales, I should get this data. When I select quantity, I should get this data. If I say market share, then I should get this data. So how to work on this? What we'll do is we'll select this. We'll select this range, say insert, and here I'll insert one column chart. Just insert it as of now manually, and I'll keep it here like this. And you can keep this grid line, or I'll remove this. Just try to format it little. Yes, right? Okay. Now what we'll do is this object what you have, select this, and here will say obj chart. Name this chart. Always it's a good practice to name, otherwise it will be like chart 1, chart 2, chart 3, which is actually difficult for you to code if you have multiple objects. Let's go and see how we can work on these objects. Let's say right click, insert a module. Here let's say mod underscore chart. First thing is how to assign this object to one variable. Say sub, say update chart. Dim, I'll say obj chart as, we can say chart. This is a chart. Chart itself is an object. Let's go here. How to assign this object to this variable? I know this is a name. Say the name of this object is obj chart. Now let me go here. Say set obj chart equals. We have a sheet which we didn't rename. Sorry. WK is say chart, and here quickly we'll rename this. So I have this habit of renaming the sheet. Fine. I'll say WKS chart dot. Now this is not a range, this is not a pivot table or any other thing. So this is actually a chart object, what we have given here as chart. So what we'll do, we'll say chart objects. You have to mention the object type. Say chart object. Here it says index. We'll give this name of the chart, that is obj chart dot chart. Now this obj chart will have this chart, like what we have this wks dot range of d5 dot value, where that value will get assigned to one variable. Similarly this sheet, then chart objects dot chart, this is the object which will get assigned to this. Let me say F5. See, this object got assigned, or say for this object. Now we'll see how we can get the source data here for this. That is, this is called a source data. So all of this, say obj chart dot set source data. It will ask for the source as a range again. So this will be a range. So you can mention, say, K6 to L11. Again, I told you, you can take this as a range data type itself, or you can directly mention here. So what I'll do, I'll just go here, I'll say K6 WKS chart dot range of, I'll say K6 dot current region. This is a good habit actually, to have this current region, so that it will take the entire value even if this will get updated. So here this will get automatically selected. If you would have mentioned K6 to 11, what will happen? It will always select only this range. What if I add more data? It will not select. Okay, let me run this. See, it is taking this data now. Let me change this to N6. Now let me run this. See, it is taking this data. So if I change this to Q6, see, it is taking this data. It become percentage here. Now what we'll do is, we'll see how to make this dynamically. Now what we have done, we are trying to change this K6 or N6 or Q6. But I'll put a drop down here where automatically when I select the drop down, the source data should change. So what should do, or what should we do for that? What I'll do is, here I'll have something called as developer tab. If you don't have, I'll go to this file, then say options, and say customize ribbon. Here I'll have this developer tab. Say okay. When I say this developer tab, click here, I'll have insert. See, developer tab, insert, and here I have this form controls. Here I have this combo box. Click on this combo box and drag it. This will give me a combo box like this. Select this and I'll keep it here. When I click here, I should get the sales, quantity, or market share. Let me copy this sales, or we can type it here. Anywhere you can just type. I'll type it here only so that it will be easy for you to understand. Sales, quantity, and I'll say market share. I just typed it. So how to get this? Right click and say format control, and then here I have this input range. So input range is nothing but the items, or say the names, which has to be loaded to my drop down. Cell link will help me in getting the index number of the selected item. See, sales, this will be 1, quantity will be 2, then market share is 3. So based on this, what I'll do, I'll go here, say Alt F11. Let me copy this. We'll take it in a second step. Here I'll say dim, and let me take this one, that is the index. We'll say int I as integer, and then we'll take the selected index here. Int I equals wks chart dot range of b17 dot value. Fine. Now what I'll do, the set source data, whatever is there, this is actually different for each selection, right? Sales, quantity, or market share. Now what we'll do, we'll go here, I'll say if int I is equal to 1, then else if int I is equal to 2, then else, and if, because I have 3 options to be selected, say 1, 2, and if not, then it is 3. I'll go here. If it is 1, that means it is sales, that means this range. If it is 2, this range. If it is 3, this range. So what I'll do, let me take this, the set source data, I'll put it here. And for market share also we'll put here. What I'll do, for sales, if it is 1, it should be sales, that is from K6 current region. I'm just changing it. See, for quantity, I'll change this to N6. Then for market share, I'll say Q6. See, now what we'll do is, we'll take this macro and we'll assign to this button. Assign macro, assign it. Now what will happen is, here, depending on the index number it is changing, the source also will get changed. See, now let's say sales. See, it will take this one. I'll go here, say quantity, it will take this one. Then say market share, it will take this one. It's that simple. See, sales, quantity, and say market share. That's fine. This is one thing we did. Now, if you see in the current business intelligence tool, we can easily go and change the chart type. Just click on pie chart, this will get changed to pie chart. If you click on line chart, this will get changed to line chart. But in Excel, we don't have such option, or I have to go here and manually do changes something here. Instead, let's say I'll give an option for my client so that he can click on any of the objects, say different chart type, automatically this should get changed. So for that, what we'll do, we'll go to developer, insert, and here I have an option button. So what I'll do, I'll take this option button and I'll keep it here. Let me delete this label and I'll say this as column. Let me make one more copy of it and I'll say bar chart. Then let's say pie chart. Now if I click on this column, this should be column chart. If you click on this bar, this should become a bar chart. If you click on this pie, this should become a pie chart. How to do this? So what we'll do, again, say right click and say format control. I will select a cell link here, anywhere in the sheet, and say okay. See, column, it says 1. Bar, it says 2. Pie, it says 3. Let's go back. Now what I'll do, we'll try to update this, update chart 3. Now one more step. What I'll do is here, let's say name intk as integer. Now this intk will take this index number, that is the chart type. This one was for the data for sales, quantity, or market share. Don't get confused with this and this. This is to change the chart type. I'll go here. I'll say intk. This intk will be equals to this value, that is E17. Now we'll go here and say if intk is equal to 1, then else if intk is equal to 2, then else, and if. See, if it is 1, it should be column chart. If it is 2, it should be bar chart. Otherwise, pie chart. Now here we'll say obj chart dot chart type. Okay, this is for changing the chart type. This is for changing the source. Equals, I'll say Excel column clustered. Copy this and here I'll paste. Okay, here next is a bar. I'll say Excel bar clustered, and for pie I'll say Excel pie. That's it. If you want, I'll go here, I'll mention change the source, change the chart type. Now let me copy this macro and then I'll assign for all these objects at once. Say select like this, right click, assign macro, and I'll assign the macro. See, I'll click on this column, it's a column chart. Let me click on this bar. See, automatically this will get changed to bar chart. Click on this, it will change to pie chart. Now if I go here, see, quantity, market share, here it is getting changed. See, say market share, it will go here for market share. Anything if you want, you can just go here and you can select it like this. I want this bar chart. See, immediately this will get changed to bar chart, that is market share. Now let me go and say sales, the quantity, right? So this is how you can work on objects. So these are some of the commonly used objects what we have in our Excel. There are so many other things. Say you can open different workbook, copy and paste the data in my sheet. I have hundreds of files, copy and paste that into my one Excel sheet. Or say there are so many charts like this, hundreds of charts. I have to export this to a PPT. So how to do that? So these things actually will be covered in our dashboard sessions. So what now we have learned is the programming skills That is VBA. This course is for learning the programming skills. Okay, fine. Next, there is one more chapter I'll take in the same file, and I'll show you, how to work on this, how to handle the errors. Okay, fine. Next one is how to handle errors. Let me just go here. I'll say F4, say mod score error. Say sub handle error. Right. First, we'll understand what is this error. Error means mistake. When I'm writing a code, there are many times that I can make mistake. Let me take one of these only. Let me take this program itself, and I'll put it here. If suppose I'm not giving a comma, you say the double quotes here, see, it'll throw error. That means the error what I'm getting here is, see, I put this, and again I'll remove this. It says expected list separator. That means there is no separator here. There is an error. Suppose if I not give, say, proper spelling here, see, this is not actually an error because it is thinking that it's a function. But still, when I run this, see, this is while executing. Now here I'm not getting any red mark here because this is not a syntax error. This is I don't have a proper properties, or say range. Here range is range. This is not actually a property or method. When I run this, while running it lasts. Fine. There is one more thing. Next, I don't have this variable. Let's run this. See, variable not defined. These are all while executing. While compiling, you'll get the errors. That is compile errors. Syntax errors are these. Say, I'll go here. I'll not give a proper syntax here. See, this is syntax error. I'll not give a dot somewhere here. See, these are called as syntax errors. Compile errors means while compiling. See, when I'm running this, it'll say variable not defined. That means this is not defined. Let's say I'll define this. Now what I'll do here, I have this WKS chart. I'll make it as WKS charts. See, here I don't have WKS charts. Now let me try to run this. See, variable not defined. So these kind of errors will be getting while writing the program. So you don't have to bother. Now what I'll do, this is to understand. Let's say understand. Now let's write one program. Say sub error. Dim, I'll say int I as integer. Say dim int k as integer. Okay. Now what we'll do, we'll try to write a program where I'll try to take one value. Somewhere here we'll take this value, say sales, which is 50,000. So then we should take long. Otherwise what we'll do, we'll take this quantity, that is 07 int I equals wks chart dot range of, we'll take this 07. Okay, dot value. Right. Now this int k, what I'll do, I'll take some value here, that is 012, where I don't have any value. WKS chart dot range of 011, say it's 012 dot value. Thinking that there is a total like this. See, there was supposed to be a total here, but I'm not in the total. Let's take with total. I've taken a total here and try to get the value. Say message box int I divided by int k. Let me run this. See, I'm getting some value. Can you see this? I'm getting some value. Let's say whatever, I'm just getting the value. Now let me go and delete this. I forgot to give the total here in this place. Now let me run this and see what will happen. See, it says division by 0. That means I'm getting an error saying that I'm trying to divide a number by 0. What I'll do is here, I want to handle this. I'll say on error resume next. This on error resume next is an error handler. So what it will do is it will skip the error. See, I'm not getting the error, but I'm not executing this as well. Let me go here and I'll say message box, we are trying to divide a number by 0. See, let me run this. See, it is executing this, but it is not executing this because this is an error. When I say on error assume next, it will not check any errors. So these kind of errors it will not check. It will skip that error and it will continue with the other codes. Suppose if you go to this, I have captured all these kind of errors here in error handling. So all the different kind of errors like this. So you can go through this. See, I was talking about the syntax errors, then compile errors. Okay. So here I've captured most of the on error resume next. Okay. So go through these codes. This I've explained in a very simple way. That is here. But what you do is just try to go through that. There are some different examples and you'll understand more on these errors. Okay. Suppose if you want to stop this, say I want to stop, then I can say on error go to 0. Suppose after this, say on error go to 0. So what this will do, it will just remove, means if I have one more error here, say message box int divided by 0. See, this is one more code I'm just trying to take. Let me remove this. I'll not give this. See, this is divisible by 0. Now it is stopping here only. Now if I give this on error resume next, and here I'll stop it on error go to 0. So what this will do, it will stop the error here only. If I see, now it is going to this code. If I would have not given this on error go to 0, so what will happen, this will continue without checking this message as well. But suppose if you want to stop at one point of time, I can use on error go to 0 like this. Let me execute. See, like this. So these are some of the error handling techniques. In detail, you have in this you can just go through all the codes which are given here in a simple way with explanation. You can go through that. Okay, so this is all we have for today's session.